Another day in paradise and the sun shining. So what's happening in the workshop? Jim's got a serious project on. We've got two other projects. This is the JD Bowden levers used to make motorcycles 1920. So we're lucky to have this one. We've done a bit on it before. We've had the engine running. We've got some new mud guards from Steve Renovation Spares, and so I've got new mud guards to put on. I had a local spinner threw up this disc for me because that goes in here on that's the drive, so it's got to be good. This is the little drive mechanism that pops on here like that, and then the drive up, that chain drives that, and that band drives the back wheel. So that's a bit of a breakthrough getting that sorted out, because I was in serious trouble. So I'll sort out the back wheel, I'll fit the mud guards, and then it'll come down for painting. This one here is an interesting project. 1950 Charles Douglas. Great friend of mine, Bill McComb. He lives on the Ulster Grand Prix circuit on the 7 Mile Straight, and he's a strong supporter of the museum, so he donated this to Charles Douglas, and it's quite, I remember riding against this in my Crum Cup years ago. They weren't the best trolls back in the world, but the opposition was on them. They were even better because they weren't opposition. So anyway, it's a genuine works bike. We've had the engine apart. I'm working on, done the seat. That's a Dunlop trial seat, which is quite handy. Nice little slim tank on it. I fitted these aluminium mud guards, made the stays up, and 19-inch back wheel, which was what people used in those days. Now they use 18-inch wheels, but I'll try and stick to the 19-inch, try and get a tire for it. So got a chain guard at Kempton Park for it. And this is the engine, which is a bit of a nightmare. Hose twin, put it all apart. Bad news is the big ends are gone. So that I'm onto the Douglas Club. I may will help with an exchange crankshaft, which would be, bores are quite good. I've honed the bores out. Standard bores, which are quite handy, so not a lot of wear there. This is a 4-speed gearbox, big unit. All feels quite happy, so we'll just do an inspection on that and see what it's like. As you can see, that rocker cover has seen better days. It stopped a few rocks in its day. So this is crankcases. That goes like that. That goes like that. These are the cams. Crank drops in there. Barrels drop on there like that. And then you've got the cylinder heads. All haven't had the cylinder heads apart yet, but shouldn't be too much carnage. The sort of good news is that sprockets are quite good nicked, so it really hasn't done a lot of miles in its life, which is good. These are all the camshaft gears and half-time pinions and stuff. So that's the pistons, standard pistons, nice. That's the clutch mechanism. Bit of a weird operation that, but take a bit of sorting out. These are the remains of the gaskets and cables. That's got to be sorted. This flywheel was a serious job to get that off. It took me about an entire morning because the taper, which had probably been on it for about 70 years, wouldn't let go. So we got it red hot, a big extractor on here, leaned on it, and when the taper broke, it nearly hit that beam, which was quite a relief. These are the boxes and bits and pieces, Amel carburetors, very small bore. That looks like about 3/4 of an inch bore, which is minuscule. starting to get, that's the original levers, which are quite nice. They'll all clean up well for chrome. And kickstart, that's the zinc stuff coming together. And slowly working it. These are the tappets and the followers and stuff. So pretty well underway. That's the cams that operate there. So they're driven there, and that's the cams. That's the drive for the oil pump off that one. So you can see the worm gear there. The oil pump's kicking about somewhere. Let me see if we can find it for you. Yeah, there it is there. That's the oil pump. Need a bit of TLC on that. So the gears are, the drive's quite good condition, so that's the main thing. That was the big nut for that flywheel that wouldn't let go. So there we go. So we're pressing on, and we'll pass you over to Jim, who's on this Belgium L Mondelli, 1931
ish. Yeah, I think.
Ish.
Yeah.
So this again was donated by Bill McCroom, 7 miles straight. So we're keeping up the speed. Try to send him a photograph every day of the progress, which is coming on well. Jim's got it apart, so Jim will tell you all the ins and outs of it, and the transmission, which is quite unique.
Okay, yeah, so the Mondiali came apart last week. I left it in one piece and did various repairs, straightened out footrests and welded the odd thing and made sure it was all as it should be. And then it's a strip. I did actually get it running. The flywheel magneto on the engine, big flywheel on here, I couldn't get a spark out of it. You could feel it was trying to produce an H2 spark with your fingers, but I quickly rigged up an ignition coil with a condenser and a battery to produce a spark. The contact set's in there and had it actually running, so it was encouraging. 352 stroke. We've got a mystery here which I'm looking forward to solving. Although it's a 2-stroke, the front of the crankcase here incorporates an oil reservoir with a dipstick with oil, which is a bit of a mystery at the moment. So until I get into this to see why it's got an oil reservoir incorporated in the crankcase, quite intriguing. Transmission is very similar to the used on the early Nera cars, which is a friction drive. On the side of the frame there's a gear, well, I say gear selector, speed selector. There's 5 different speeds. And it moves this across and it rubs against the face of the flywheel. Obviously when it's in the centre, that's the lowest gear. Then it moves out until you're near the outside of the flywheel, which is the high speed. Very simple. So it's used by Nera car and some others, I believe. It all looks in reasonable condition once cleaning and checking. Kickstart mechanism, that needed quite a bit of attention, bit of welding and repairs, but got that working again. Did that before we stripped it down. At the moment I'm just getting things ready for blasting and powder coating the wheels, which will be blasted and powder coated all black. I've degreased them this morning and I've masked off the centre of the hub and the brake drum. Obviously you don't want any blast material or powder coat to go in there. So that's the rear wheel, which is ready for blasting. Front wheel, I've got to make a cover band here just to cover the surface up for the brake, to make sure that doesn't get affected when it gets blasted. Then that will be ready. The frame, this has had various holes drilled in it, probably for pillion rests or some things we'll never know about, which I've welded. And I've taken off some of this blue paint, which is incorrect, and revealed the original colour paint, which is there, that nice dark blue. And you can see the gold pinstripe that goes all round, which we're going to photograph and measure. And a particularly nice detail at the back, where the pinstripe goes to a point there and then comes through to a very fine point. Just a cosmetic thing. Luckily we were able to see all that under the blue paint that had been applied. Original transfer, which again was under this blue. So we've got to look into either obtaining some or making some.
It's always a big help when you find the original paint, the original transfers, the original lining. So it's really had quite a life, and it'll be, Jim's just got some paint for it already.
Had some paint mixed up last week. Nearest we went through dozens of colour swatches. The paint, rainbow paints are very helpful. Spent some time and we found one that was spot on.
And that there, Jim, was the
Fuel tank.
Fuel tank box section job. Weighs a ton, and definitely no corrosion, no rust on it, so that's quite handy. So there you go. Jim's pressing on with that. I'm pressing on with the Douglas and JD Bowden. So plenty on, plenty happening. And today Sharon has gone to pick up the latest acquisition, which you won't believe me, is a vertical twin villa set, two KSS engines put together. So it'll be here this afternoon. So probably if you pop in, Chris, later in the week, we'll do a video on probably the only vertical twin KSS villa set, which was a bit of a prototype. So that's going to be a very interesting project. So onward and forward. Another day in paradise.